Hi, I'm Dave. Kite and I have teamed up with U.S. Captain's Training to bring you a vlog about interesting people in the boating world. Neil from U.S. Captain's Training was able to join us on this one as we talked to Dan and Marlene Reesner about their 2.5-year trip around the world. They sailed 48,000 miles. Dan ran a couple marathons along the way. This is a short clip from the full episode. We talk about mental prep and inspiration for sailing around the world. If you like this, take a listen to the full one. Thanks. Enjoy.
Now we don't know what to talk about after a whole weekend of talking. The mental prep of ocean sailing, comparing it to marathon running and fitness and nutrition at sea and food. Food prep and for passages, all that.
So, for anything, something's got to be an inspiration.
Yeah.
Sorry, turn it off.
Doing good.
So I often compare marathon running to the preparation and everything for my first marathon to preparing for the sailing boat trip, and because they're both a real challenge. So I can't believe I'm when I used to run a lot around Lake Galena at Peace Valley Park near Chalfont and Doylestown. I'd go there and run a lap, run another lap, the next day. One summer I was running quite a bit, and I happened to notice this lady early in the spring also running. Almost every time I went up there, she was there running. And she was kind of overweight and running very slow, so I'd just blow by her. Well, by the end of the summer, she was much more slimmed down and running much faster. And I stopped one time on the lap and I said to her, I see you up here for the last 4 or 5 months, and she goes, "Oh, I'm preparing for the Philadelphia Marathon." And I go, "Man, if she can do it, I could do it." Because I was a runner, but I never really, I never thought someone, mediocre, if you will, could do a marathon. But it turns out you can't, And I had in my mind that I had to run 8-minute miles too to do a marathon. And it turns out you don't need to run 8-minute miles to do a marathon, because I never did, even though I've run over 40 marathons. So, but anyway, it took a lot to do that first marathon, because I was gearing up to do it, and in the winter I hurt my knee playing hockey. Had an operation. About 4 months later, I could finally run again. Gearing up to do it, and then something else happened. Oh,
was there a little girl at the park?
Yeah, I had in my mind that I had to run 8-minute miles for some reason, and so I was ready to run the Philadelphia Marathon. And I said, well, if I can run 8-minute miles for 26.2 miles, I'll do it. I'll sign up and actually run for it. And so I went out there one day. It was late in the year. It was October. The race is November, and had my son out there in our van going around the park giving me water and snacks along the way, and which was nice. Just like in the park has rest stops, so I could take a rest stop if I needed to. So anyway, I'm on my last lap, and all the 3 laps, I've noticed this large group of Oriental people playing volleyball, having a big picnic and stuff, kind of up on the hill, a little bit away from the waterfront. The sidewalk there runs right around the waterfront. On my last lap, I'm running along, and here they are. They're still playing and stuff like that. And I'm running along, and I notice a little Oriental girl down by the rocks, down by the lake, all by herself. And I go, oh man! And I kept running, and I'm on time. I'm doing good. And turns out, I run by her, and then I finally say, shoot, if I don't stop, I'm going to read about this in the newspaper, because nobody knew she was there, So I finally stop. I go to talk to her. Of course, my tongue was swollen after running, over 18 miles, and I couldn't say much. Of course, she couldn't understand me anyway. But anyway, I was able to scare her away from the waterfront and up toward the group, but there was a little knoll in between, so they couldn't see her, but they could see me, So I'm hollering to them, and they're going, yeah, and finally she got up high enough where they saw her, and they come running down, and thank you. And okay, so I get back on and start to run again, and I couldn't get started, so I didn't run it that year, And finally I read more about marathons and realized you don't have to do 8-minute miles to do a marathon. And so the next year I finally geared up again, and again you have to worry about nutrition. I was running 18 miles at a time. I got really bad IT band problems getting ready for it. So I would run 18 miles on a weekend, and then it was Advil and ice till around Thursday or Friday. I'm thinking, okay, I'm never going to do this. But then by Saturday, oh, okay, I feel good again. Go out again, run 18 miles, Advil and ice. That lasted for about, 2 months. And finally I was going to quit and just not even try it. And then all of a sudden I went out to run it again. It didn't hurt. And it hasn't hurt since. And I ran that first Philadelphia Marathon. Didn't do 8-minute miles, but it was still very respectable. 3 hours and 42 minutes, I think, which is anything under 4 hours I consider respectable.
So what year was that?
It took me about 3 years before I finally ran it after talking to that lady. So.
Yeah. So what year did you run it?
What year? Around 2000, maybe 1998, 1999, around then. Yeah, I have to look at my T-shirt too. So I got a drawer full of marathon T-shirts, So anyway, so yeah, I can't remember what year it was, but it took me about 3 or 4 years before I finally got up and actually ran it. So it took a lot of mental and physical and everything preparation. So
and it
drained you.
It compared to getting ready for your around the world sale.
Yeah. So. Here's what inspired me for that. The book by Tanya.
No.
What's her last name? Okay.
I think
yeah.
Abbie.
Right. Maiden Voyage. So I read that book when I was in my early 30s. And it's about a young girl who sailed around the world trying to break the record for being the youngest person to sail around the world. And she did sail around the world by herself. Okay. And again, I'm thinking, heck, if she can do it, I could do it. So that's what put that bug in me. And I was doing big boat sailing, if you will, all around Lake Ontario. So overnight sailing for the longest race we did was 4 days, sailing all types of conditions. When you race, you sail in no wind and whatever it gives you when you're racing. And so that put the bug in my ear. So I started preparing for it way back then in my 30s. And finally it wasn't until, 65 or 66 when we 65-ish when we left on the voyage. Mentally preparing, reading all kinds of books about it. I became a sailing instructor because I knew that being a sailing instructor would help me learn more about sailing. The best way to learn about something is to teach something, So I became actually a U.S. sailing instructor first, teaching the U.S. sailing courses, and then I became an American Sailing Association instructor. Then I got my captain's license again, just to learn more and more all about sailing. Reading all types of books about sailing adventures and so forth, and learning stuff, how to do that type of thing. And just mentally preparing for this whole thing, and I felt very comfortable about it. Now it took me about 20 years to convince Marlene.
I was just going to ask, that was Marlene. What was your mental preparation?
Because I was telling her about this, and like many people, I don't believe you. Yeah, right. Tell me another one, But finally, it happened, and